Hi, this is Jean Morgan. I'm going to give you an overview of what my students will see when they come into my Core Sites unit. This unit is specifically built for high school students, grades 9 through 12, and it's an honors chemistry class where students are going to be using their knowledge of gas laws and stoichiometry they've learned in previous units and putting it together to simulate how airbags work. So I'm going to give you an overview of just what my students see. This would be the page that they would see when they first come onto the site. And of course there'll be some announcement page, that sort of stuff. There's also a video introducing myself. This is good practice as an instructor to introduce yourself, especially in a blended or online environment, so that you can put a name and a face to a voice. Makes it a little bit more personal. So there's a little welcome video and also a gas law stoichiometry video there for students just to kind of watch on their own. So I'm going to jump right in here, and what I'm specifically going to be going over in this when I show you what my students are going to see is also how I am covering the three domains of learning that we have used throughout our master's program here at Brownman. So I'm going to jump in here into week 1. And you will see right here the daily agenda. You're going to see Bloom's taxonomy used here, where the kids are going to be showing some knowledge, understanding, they're going to be applying, they're going to be analyzing and evaluating, and lastly they're going to be creating. They're going to be creating both a mock airbag design and creating a presentation in which they are going to give me the results. So you're going to see throughout here also the affective, the feelings where students will perceive things. They are going to try to persuade through a discussion their ideas and their thoughts, their values. Of course, they're going to be creating and integrating some knowledge from expert witnesses and so on and so forth. And then they are going to basically resolving a problem by creating their own mock airbag design where they will have a egg which they are going to drop from a 3-meter distance, but hopefully they can create an airbag that's filled with just the right amount of air, about 75% full, that won't break from a 3-meter distance. So let's just kind of lay it out here. There's day 1 agenda. You can see the expectations, my introduction. There's the rubrics. There's a voiceover PowerPoint for students. They'll be doing a survey at the very beginning, and it's not graded. It is just more formative both for the student and for myself to let us both know what our knowledge base is with regards to airbags. Where are we at in our knowledge? Then they will do a survey, like I said, and there's also a survey here in PDF format, which is basically for other students who maybe have a visual disability and can't actually do the survey online, so they can do it through a PDF format and submit it to me that way. That way I still get everybody's knowledge base. So they're going to be looking at a medical examiner. They're going to be looking from the highway safety input, so collecting data right off the bat about airbags and so on and so forth. So we aren't even talking about the chemistry portion of it yet. We are just gathering information and seeing how the kids are going to apply that knowledge into day 2. So day 2, they're going to watch a lecture, and there is a PDF format of the basically the words that are used in the lecture for those students who may not be ready for voiceover PowerPoint, or if they need multiple ways of gathering that information. They'll be using a PowerPoint on how airbags work. There is a graphic organizer that students will be using. So using lots of multiple domains for learning here for students to be learning with. And then there is I will be doing a demo for students in class, but I'm also thinking about those students who may not be in class that day. So there's this gas law stoic demo, which would be the same demo I would be doing, and they could watch it that way. That way the students, when they come back to school, are not behind. So it lays out day by day what the coursework is. They'll be using a Google form where this is a formative assessment where I will actually be collecting some data to make sure that they have gathered the information they need in order to go into day 3 and day 4. Also, they're going to be participating in a discussion rubric. This is definitely getting kids to actually integrate and persuade and look at ideas of what they believe is our rights as citizens in the United States, as to whether or not we think airbags should be mandatory in vehicles, whether or not we require that we wear seatbelts, and so on. So it gives an open discussion with regards to that. It also is basically on the affective approach, where kids get to voice their opinions and feel like they have some say-so, buy in, and take some ownership of what they're learning. And day 3 and 4 is where they will be start developing. They'll be working collaboratively together on an airbag design, and they'll be assigned lab partners, and they're going to hypothesize and create and go through calculations using their gas laws, and so on and so forth. And they'll have 3 days to go through this, and they will be following a specific rubric in their laboratory notebook journal, and they will be following this, what is required of them through that rubric, to make sure that their lab notebook is set up easily for me to grade, for one thing, and easy for them to follow and be successful at and show mastery. So day 5, they're going to continue on this. I'll be walking through, answering questions, assessing students' learning, make sure they're on the right direction. There'll be lots of places for feedback. The static portion is definitely the laboratory journal notebook. They can do drawings. There's multiple ways for them to show they are progressing in the right direction. They also have 3 trials at making this egg successful. And even if they don't, even if their 3rd trial, they still broke the egg, as long as they're moving in the direction of mastery, that's what I'm looking for. So that's kind of the first week laid out. Week 2, we can dig into week 2 here. Week 2 is where they actually are going to be doing their dropping of the egg and redoing their calculations if that first trial didn't work, so on and so forth, and then putting their presentation together. So they have working collaboratively together on this part, but their final key assessment is individual. So their lab notebook is individual, and the way they wish to present their data is individual, and they have choice here. That's the affective part of it as well. So they get to choose whether or not they want to present through a PowerPoint or a Prezi, or in a written abstract format. Both those rubrics, which are here for students to look at, will show that the same information needs to be presented, whether they do it in a PowerPoint, whether they do it in a Prezi, or whether they do it in a written report. So also with this, they will be using Turnitin.com, showing the academic integrity, honesty portion of this, that we're looking for that sort of stuff. They will be turning in their laboratory notebook, and I will be grading that as well. They will finally be doing a self-assessment. I want them to self-assess how they felt this unit went. Did they think they mastered everything? Following the rubric, it gives them one last opportunity to look at that rubric. Did I follow the rubric? Did I include everything I need in order to be successful with this unit? And finally, there's a drop box. They will going to make sure they double check that rubric one more last time, and I give them the rubrics one more time for them to look at. So I think the unit's laid out pretty nicely. Also over here in the discussion, which was on day 2, you can see what the discussion is about. And so they need to watch the information, make sure they've gone through this information before, reiterated what they need to do before they climb into that discussion. And then also the rubric is also posted for them in the class information area. So all this information is laid out for students in the class information, how the points are being assigned, academic integrity, the rubrics both for the key assessment as well as for the discussion board, and some class resources for them, periodic tables, reference sheets, things like that that we've used throughout this whole school year. So I think the unit's laid out pretty nicely for the students, pretty easy to follow, and they'll be dropping everything through me, plus open discussions, emails, and so on and so forth. So I think this is a very good way of showing how the 3 domains, the cognitive domains using Bloom's taxonomy, the affective, as well as the behavioral, psychomotor, basically expressing and interpreting information, and which also support the affective and the cognitive behaviors. So this is my unit laid out. I hope you enjoy. Take a look at it, and thank you very much for listening.